What a beautiful day it is here in Westport. We're at the presentation of the cheque to our charity partners from the Club Stars Awards, Down Syndrome Mayo. I'm delighted to have Colm Boyle, one of our judges here, and James Carty, the chairperson of Down Syndrome Mayo. James, first of all, congratulations. We've just handed over a cheque for just over €5,000, the proceeds from the Club Stars Awards. The raffle on the night was a tremendous success. People were so generous, so supportive. It must be very encouraging, I suppose, and very humbling as well to just see what that response on the night has translated into, because I know from the great work you do with Down Syndrome Mayo, a cheque like this, a donation like this genuinely makes a big difference to what you guys are trying to do on a weekly and a monthly basis.
Yeah, Mike, first of all, thanks very much. Very humbling experience for myself as chairperson of Down Syndrome Mayo. When I spoke that night, I did not envisage getting close to €5,000 being raised by yourselves for us. So the fact that people dug deep at a time when it's tough coming up to Christmas and that was very humbling for us. And the fact then that €5,000 now will be going towards providing great services for the children, the members of our community, where it'll go towards speech and language, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, and helping people to progress so that they become full integrated members of society. And hopefully from that then we'll be able to raise their profile in them doing different courses throughout their life, which will add to their development, and also encourage them to become part of the workforce and be contributing on a full-time level to the social side of life. And that's all we can ask for, so thanks very much for that.
Boiler, James is far too humble to admit it, but I have to say, on the night, interviewing him on stage, and you always get a sense of how an audience is reacting to somebody at a live event like that. I thought he spoke so well and so honestly and passionately about Down Syndrome Mayo and what it's done for his family and families all across the county. That made a huge difference. I think it really did resonate with people in the room on the night, didn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I think what makes something like that resonate with the crowd of people is when the person that's speaking, when it's close to home to them as well, like, which is, and it really brought through what a great cause Down Syndrome Mayo is and the great work that's going on. And when James outlined kind of what the needs out there for the people, I think that's why probably you got such a response to it, and the money that was raised, absolutely brilliant. So absolutely great. It was great to have it on the night. It was a brilliant night in general. Brilliant to have the Club Stars back, which is which something we're all looking forward to again. We won't feel it again, Mike. You'll be organising it again. So yeah, it was brilliant night all round, and it was great to have the success out of it.
Believe it or not, the organisation for, I was going to say next year, for this year's awards has started already. We've come back to Knockranny House Hotel this morning for the cheque presentation and for the photos, and the date is booked in already for the 2025 Club Stars Awards. We'll be announcing that in the coming weeks or months, but let's just say if you've got anything planned for the first weekend in December, well, maybe you should clear your diary, especially if you're planning to win a county senior, intermediate or junior title, because you'll be needed here in Knockranny on the night.
Or be planning Mayo training.
Well, yes, Mayo training has been known to be arranged for the night of the Club Stars as well. So whoever is managing Mayo when the 2025 Club Stars comes around, we'll have to get onto them good and early. But
could we change it out? I have the heebie-jeebies, Mike. I got married here, so every time I drive up that hill into Knockranny, I just get flashbacks of coming up the car here. So I don't know. Could we change it up for next year?
I'll tell you what, I'll ask your wife Laura what she thinks. God, what a lucky lady she is. Boiler, you all romantic coming into Valentine's weekend and all. But you mentioned the night itself, and I suppose we haven't really got much of a chance to talk about it because life moves fast, it comes at you fast, and then we've had viruses and storms and Christmas and all the rest. But highlights, give me a couple of highlights from the night, Boiler, from the Club Stars Awards, because only yesterday I just happened by pure coincidence to bump into Tommy O'Malley, who got the Lifetime Achievement Award on the night. He's still bouncing, and he's still absolutely made up about the fact that Aidan O'Shea took time out when he was receiving his award to mention a training session in 1997 in Charlestown. Brilliant. That Aidan went along to watch with his dad as a little boy, and Tommy O'Malley, the Mayo selector, took time out to take him by the hand and to bring him into the Mayo dressing room. And I think he nearly got the shock of his life when he walked in and saw all these fine specimens like Colm Mack and DB and the boys doing their thing inside in the dressing room. But I mean, there were so many highlights, but I'm going to ask James in a second for his, but just give me a couple of cameos or vignettes or moments from the night that just you really enjoyed and you thought maybe summed up why it was such a good idea to bring it back.
I think seeing you under a bit of pressure up on stage, I think that's definitely one of the highlights for me. I was really enjoying that.
Yeah, that was the hardest 10 seconds of my life, Boiler, yeah.
Tommy was brilliant in the fact that he didn't want no interview. He just took the mic. He said, I'm doing my own interview of myself here. And no speech, nothing prepared. Everything was just sheer from the heart. So stuff like that is unreal. Brilliant. That story Aidan had. I think I heard that one before. Not sure where Aidan said that. Did he say it on one of the podcasts with you or a chat with you before? But definitely I'd heard that one before. It's absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. I think someone has a good story that they remember something where it was Mayo football or something that started very young for you, and that probably started with Aidan that day. So brilliant story. Tommy was unreal. Don't want it just to be like I hadn't seen an awful lot of boys that were in that room for a couple of years. You know, even boys I would have played football with over the years and stuff like that. So even to be back in the room with them again was absolutely brilliant. Full house in Knockranny, just the atmosphere coming up to Christmas, it was unreal. And then the team itself, actually, don't think there was too much criticism of it. I think one or two. I think the biggest...
They obviously hadn't the courage to say it to your face, Boiler.
Yeah, I think the biggest losers, if I was to name a couple, like Evan Regan, I would say, and maybe Shiroz Akram, I'd say, were probably the most unlucky, I would say, to lose out. But I think pretty much everyone was happy enough with it that it was pretty much spot on, which was good.
Yeah, one thing I learned is that David Clark, you may know him as a goalkeeper and as a shy, quiet type, different man completely at an awards night like that. Some crack, David Clark. Maybe it's since he retired from county football. I know James, he's a man you know well. Also, he's a fellow Garda as well, but he has some engine, David Clark. He may be getting old, but I'll tell you one thing, he doesn't seem to need 8 hours, that's for sure.
No, he's a serious character, so he is. I suppose people only ever seen the professional side of him when he was playing football and that, but outside of football he's a great character, great lad. When we worked in Go, we used to call him the retriever, because if a fella ran from us we'd send Clarky after him and Clarky'd arrive back with him. But no, great lad, really great fun. And just I'd like to echo what Colm said there about the night in question. It was great going around meeting people you hadn't met in years. It was great, that kind of a GA community there, everybody that knew each other from playing down through the years or from going to club events together. So that was brilliant. And for me, a couple of the highlights when you're on about it, Westport ladies team, it was great to see ladies being honoured like that. I have a young girl at home who's 11, football mad, and it was great to see, something for her to see, that's not just about fellas being involved. The Charlestown Award as well for Team of the Year, very poignant because it was Colm Harkin, but I knew Colm personally, knew a good few of the lads there, and it was great to see his memory and what Charlestown have done down there being honoured on the night in question. And fair play to you lads for your organisation on the night in question, because really is a great night's entertainment, great night's crack, and just seeing so many people being honoured for the hard work that goes in during the year, because the club players, as we all know, they don't get the same recognition that the county lads do, but a lot of them are putting their lives on hold for 7, 8, 9 months of the year, and even on their off season they're concentrating on getting back for the next year. So it's lovely to see them all being honoured.
James makes a good point there, Boiler, doesn't he? I mean, it's all gone so serious now. Like, you're still playing club football with Davids. I won't ask if you're retiring. It's probably too soon. It's not the time or the place. But let's say you do, for argument's sake, come back to play again in 2025. Like, you're in the thick of it. I'm sure you've already, had your first meeting. The WhatsApp group is buzzing again. You're on a programme or whatever. We all know how intense county football has gone. It did seem just lovely for a few hours, like you said, during the, I was going to say downtime or off season, but your Crossmolina were still training at the time, Mayo were still training at the time. But it did seem nice just for the football community to come together and just have a bit of crack. And as you said, meet up with guys you play with, you played with, you play against. And it just reminded you of the good old days, because at times, and I know we spend our time on this pod obviously talking football, it just seems to have got very, very serious. And maybe the old ways are best.
Yeah, look, I think probably depends on your club and depends on your club manager. I'd say, some clubs, probably we all have heard stories, just go too hard too early and it's too serious right from the start. And if you're going too serious from January, February and trying to bring that through to August, September, October, when you need to be going well, you're probably going to lose the room, I'd say, very quickly. So I think there's a balance to be struck through it all. I think generally most clubs have a bit of common sense, like the way, especially with Mayo now, the way it's structured is league, doesn't really matter that much. It's all about playing games and getting boys playing football and getting back into it, and then obviously peaking, at least when the championship is now, it's generally around that mid-August block, so that's when you need to be going well. So I think most managers have a tailor for that. So it's probably not as serious, I would say, early on as it might have been a couple of years ago, but then when you hit the block, that it's all about that 6, 8, 10 week window there from mid-August to October. That's when it's all about. That's when your boys really have to put the head down, and boys that are winning awards are going well and that period, that time of the year. So it is brilliant. One thing I missed out on when James was talking there, I just thought McConville on the night too. He's some man to hold the room. Jesus, he was unreal, absolutely unreal. Even his story about he wasn't at the committee meeting for the AGM, but his mother nominated, was it for language and cultural officer or something like that? Never knew there was a role. So he's on the Crossmaglen committee without even knowing it. But I think he had to leave. I met him checking in actually that night. I think he was heading off for Wicklow training at 4:30 in the morning. So he didn't have that organised.
I think he met a few lads who were going to bed when he was leaving. He sent me a WhatsApp the following day. I only wish he told me, or he recognised them.
It wasn't Clarky and Nigel Reef, no. I heard they were
only getting started. EBS, the Mortgage Masters, are proud partners of the Mayo Football Podcast. So whether you're at home or abroad, EBS in Castlebar is your one-stop shop for advice and information on mortgages. You can find them online or call into the office on Market Street in Castlebar. So we're kind of freestyling it here, as you may have guessed, and Rob and John are also with us. We're all in town for the cheque presentation. John, you've been enjoying the sights and sounds of Westport this morning, I gather. Any plans to move west permanently, maybe? I know you enjoyed it, obviously, here at the club stairs, and you look like you've enjoyed your morning as well.
Yeah, a few hours in Westport and a man would be tempted, all right, wouldn't he? It's a beautiful morning. It really is, and the reek is looking tempting as well. But sadly, I have to point the car in the other direction today.
Yeah, home sweet home. Rob, we're reminiscing about the Club Stars Awards, and Boyler's already reminded me that the 2025 awards won't be long coming around again. We're talking about highlights and kind of moments that stand out, and we've had a mention of Tommy O'Malley's speech. Liam Breheny obviously spoke brilliantly when Charlestown were picking up the Club of the Community Award, and who else got to mention? The Westport ladies, of course. How could we forget? They absolutely stole the show. Yeah. But just highlights from the night itself, like what jumps out. I know you were busy, you were working, but when you got a chance to look around, what caught your eye?
I mean, so busy. I think what caught the eye maybe after is when they're doing all the photos and you see all the extended club members. Like take for example Crossmolina, and God knows the ups and downs in their world over the last few months. But to see what it meant to them, and I think that's something that people need to check sometimes, because what I love about the GA is there's multiple mountains and multiple peaks and troughs in things. So that at that point, are they Connacht champions on that night? They were Connacht champions and county champions, but they weren't yet All Ireland champions. So, and they were there celebrating it like they had reached their target. And yet, in the back of their minds, they had bigger targets. But just when you went in, it's all the Blazers and all that, and it was the same with the Westport ladies. Everyone coming out, they brought them all up on stage. I think if there's one thing about what we believe in Gaelic football in our coverage, it's inclusivity, and I think that was demonstrated on the night.
James, just on the Crossmolina thing, Rob mentioned it there. You live in Crossmolina, you know all those lads, most people in that club really, really well. What what a few weeks that community and that club has been through. I mean, the best of times, the worst of times. What have you kind of made of the post All Ireland across Malina now? Because we were all wondering, I suppose, from the outside, like, it's such a tremendous achievement. It's such an honour to win an All Ireland, and then the incredible way the match finished as well. But just with everything that's gone on, what can you tell us about how the Crossmolina club have come through it all?
Yeah, it's been kind of a surreal couple of weeks for what's happened down in Crossmolina, and the last minute of the All Ireland final when Conor stepped up to take that penalty and he scored it, I don't think there was a man, woman or child in the place that there wasn't tears coming out of. And I met John coming out of Crow Park, and we were saying it's kind of the first time that Mayo people have been leaving Crow Park very happy, and we were actually getting pushed out the door by security while we were talking. In fact, John actually carried Iris's buggy down the steps in Crow Park, so it kind of was a nice little circle for us with the club stairs and everything. Yeah, it was a lovely little kind of circle from the start of the club stairs here in last October when we met, right up to today. So it was great. But going back to Crossmolina, like, the club, the town, the area needed a boost after the tragic events that had occurred, and it got it. And what was lovely the night that the team came back and they went into the clubhouse there was people from all around the place, Ballina, further afield over towards Erris, all that. They come over into the clubhouse and they were there to see it. And the team, you'd have seen on social media in Charlestown, there was people at the bypass waiting to see them in Swinford. So give a great boost, not just across Malina, but the whole area in a whole. And it was just great to be a part of it. And I suppose them lads were still living off the back of the 2001 All-Ireland champions. And now I think the Storm took down that sign off the front of the clubhouse, so it's all being replaced now with the 2024-25 All-Ireland Intermediate champions, which is great to see. And from my point, my young fella, he's 7, he's growing up, like, him and his buddies, they have been jumping on pitches all year, chasing autographs, even the players were giving them gloves. They were coming up to you after the match, showing all the things they had grabbed off the players on the field, and it was great buzz. So, like, that team have given so much encouragement to the next generation of footballers, and on a bigger scale they've also shown people in Mayo that it is possible to win up in Crow Park, that it is possible to live to your dream and complete it. And it just doesn't have to be football, it can be anything. They've kind of shown small town, I think there's 1,000 or so people in the area. They're showing to people that no matter where you're from, that if you believe big enough in yourself, that you can accomplish it. So it's been just a great boost for everywhere.
Just think of Moy Davids. They beat them in the group stages, drew with them and lost them. Like, if you're in that club and you're like, how do we go again? Well, maybe Crossmolina winning an All-Ireland might make them think that way.
But also I think there's no hero like a local hero, isn't that it? Because I remember I'm involved in Vince's GA club in Dublin, and we had some great days with to an All-Ireland there, and exactly as you say, Jen, the bit that I remember most about it is the kids, because for a journey for them and going to matches. I remember one time I lost Joe. He was my son. He was only a small little lad, and it took me about a half an hour to find him. And I said, where were you? He says, I was out talking to Mossy Quid.
Name drop.
And no better man, he was only like knee high to a grasshopper at the time. But it was that whole thing of being on a journey with the team, and great days, and I must be fabulous days for Crossmolina.
You mentioned there's no hero like a local hero, and when we started talking about this, lads, a few years ago, about would we bring back the club stars and would there be an appetite for it, and then we saw the huge reaction to the club championship coverage on the podcast. More and more people were interested in talking about it. Then you bring back the club stars and you see the atmosphere and the energy in the room on the night. I suppose it just reminds you, doesn't it, Rob, when you think about it, you as podcast listeners know, you run a shop in a town in South Mayo. We won't mention the shop centre or the town Ballinrobe, but now we will.
Other towns do exist.
Yeah, we're not biased towards other towns, but you know just how much conversation is dominated these days by club football. And like, when you think back to what happened here in early December, to get 400 people here, and if we pushed it hard enough, we might have got an adjoining room or an extra few in a room next door, because the demand for tickets was phenomenal. Like, club football now is box office, isn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah. We have a Neil man in charge of our club in Ballinrobe, and that's the talk in ours. It's like, well, the Neil lads are giving it to us anyways. Yes, exactly. So, yeah, no, all the time talk about it. Cranky talk lately, if it's Mayo, which that's from the whole other podcast. But, yeah, I think so. John was saying there, like, when you're here in Westport, you're thinking to yourself, God, I might move back to Mayo. But when you're in my backyard checking in the delivery, it's the same spot as anywhere else in the world. Yeah. So, like, look, there's day-to-day life here, and it's tough for people at the moment, actually, around Ballinrobe. Like, people have really got hit, like all of us, businesses, but out in the communities. Like Conor McKeown's here taking photos. He got his power back on Monday, I think. That's 10 days. And I was doing a Monty Python line to him going, you lucky. We won't say this, because like at this stage, like 10 days, I'll give you 10 days. February 5th they're telling us, and all this stuff. Yeah, so
Eamon O'Hara, I saw him tweeting yesterday, 11 days. And like, I know Eamon, and if he's listening, Eamon, I hope you got your power back. But I could just imagine the Mayo football supporters who saw that tweet thinking it's not out half long enough, because Eamon wouldn't be our biggest fan. I think he's not the biggest fan of Mayo football, if I'm being honest.
He's a fan of the podcast there. He comes on anytime we want him to. But yeah, no, the Sligos know us inside out. We know
whatever DB did to him back in the day. Yeah, it still rankles. But John, the same point, I suppose, before we wrap up. In one way, I can't wait for the next Club Stars Awards to come around. In another way, it's quite the job of work. But when you're here today in the lovely sunshine and you see the fruits of the labour, and we did say this in the very start, it was about giving people an opportunity to come together, about celebrating club people who had gone above and beyond, but it was also about representing a charity partner like Down Syndrome Mayo, giving them an opportunity on the night and in the build-up to spread their message, and of course ultimately handing over a cheque to them. And it's lovely, I suppose, to be here today now and be able to reflect on how well all of that went.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think we can all be very, very happy. I think it's fair to say that James didn't do his organisation any harm at all with his excellent contribution on the night. So I'd say that's
you're not saying financial there now, John.
I'd say that didn't exactly harm things at the till either, you know. So, but no, and I think it was a very, very important part to the event from our point of view. So I think we're delighted at how well it went. But I still have this image in my head of the night in Knockranny, the place just rammed, and you just think, well, I remember thinking, yeah, we thought, why did we think so long and hard about bringing back the Club Stars? Of course, it was the right thing to do, you know.
Do you still have the image in your head of the morning after?
No, that's a different image.
Ciara Galvin from EirGrid was with us for the photos. She had to rush off. She's a busy woman, but a huge thanks to EirGrid, our main sponsors. Aidan Byrne from EBS, who of course are our podcast partners. Aidan couldn't make it this morning either. Also very busy working. I don't know, lads. Is it us that's wrong?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I walked out of the shop and they're like, where are you going? I just said, I have a meeting. Now they know.
And if they subscribe to the podcast, they know exactly where you are. James, we'll leave the last word to you. I suppose you're a member of the famous or the infamous Carty family from Knock/Ahamore. Anyone who didn't know that, now that I've mentioned it, it'll all make sense. How eloquent you are, how well up you are in football matters as well. I know you're a card-carrying Mayo supporter. We can't have any podcast on this feed without talking about Mayo football. How are you feeling about life as a Mayo supporter? 2 rounds into the National League, and with in theory at least, the whole season stretching out in front of us.
It's hard to tell. I suppose when the league is over and Championship starts, we'll get a better picture. Mayo or Mayo, they'll always be knocking somewhere along the way. So you might get a poor league, but Championship comes along and you get a different beast, a different animal. So hopefully that's what will happen this year, and we'll have a bit of fun along the road then following them, and maybe a day or two out in Dublin and see what happens. And with the new rules, we've lads to come back. We'll see if what's left of the new rules will go along. But when the lads come back, and it gives a bit of strength, and we'll see if the 2-pointers start coming and what happens. And it could be all good. Could be there in a few months' time, and instead of reading the death note, we could be saying, geez, this is really suiting Mayo. So we'll see what happens.
My positivity part in this podcast might be under threat here. That is so far up my own street there. I can't tell you. I like it.
John, I'd say we're 5 minutes away from somebody saying Mayo for Sam if we don't cut this short.
Yeah, I would recommend that everyone reads Lee Keegan's column on the RT website today. That might sort of
well, and if you haven't had enough by the time you're finished Lee Keegan's column, go on to the blog mayogablog.com, and that will bring you right back down to earth. James, I know your late great dad John was a politician, so you and John Gunnigan here beside me will appreciate it when I say Fergie Boland is the man to lead us on to great things over the coming weeks and months. You're big fans. It wasn't his day on Sunday, but I know you're very proud of him, and it looks like his time has come, isn't it? Like he's going to be there come April, and Sligo and the championship getting underway.
Oh yeah, fingers crossed. Like Fergie is a very intelligent footballer, and I don't think he gets some of the credit that he deserves. Super kicker of a ball, his vision, everything. Like he can read the game perfectly, and there's very few footballers that can do that. He can pick out. I think it was against Dublin. He picked out Paul Towie for a lovely ball inside when people thought he was going lining up, and Towie scored that point that just went viral. Do you know? Fergie's got that ability to unlock defences, and as this championship goes on, key skills like that is going to become very important for a fella that's able to kick a ball in like that. And I suppose might be one of the problems that Mayo do have, and that is that sometimes we take that hand pass too many. So maybe if it's one thing that we could change, could be just that little kick, that pop pass quicker, and see what happens, you know.
Lads, thank you so much. James, pleasure working with you and Down Syndrome Mayo. Iris, your daughter, stole the show again today during the photo shoot. Not the first time. Lee Keegan wasn't here with us to be upstaged, but the best of luck to you and to Down Syndrome Mayo in the years ahead, and the best of luck with all those projects and plans you've got up your sleeve as well.
Lovely. And I just want to finish, Mike, by saying thanks to yourselves, but also I know Rob mentioned his own business, but I think it's very important in these times that we all support local, because as a charity we're going to local businesses looking for raising funds, but the GA as a whole, we wouldn't survive in a community unless we do have these local businesses, and a lot of them have taken a lot of hits lately with the storms and that. So if you are going to buy something, even going into the local shop buying a coffee or something like that, it all goes back within the community, and if GA clubs want to survive going forward, that's what we need to do, I think.
Well said, well said. The countdown is on already to the 2025 EirGrid Mayo Football Podcast Club Stars. Watch this space.